Hi guys, welcome back. It's Kelverse here with another video for you. Today I decided to do a drawing for Mermay, so let's just get right into it. I didn't really have a set plan for this. It's sort of just a process video, I guess, for how I draw traditionally, and if you would like to draw along with me, you are more than welcome to. So for my traditional drawings, I just start out by sketching the head. It's just a circle with a cross section for the placement of the eyes, and then I start going and filling in everything else. The shape of the face, other facial features. And then I start adding in the body. The head is usually, at least for me, what helps set up a drawing. It helps determine what sort of pose the character is going to be in, which direction they're facing, things like that. And then I just go and I sketch out the rest, the body, in this case the tail, since we are doing a mermaid, and then hair, because I just love drawing hair. So she's got a lot of hair. But my sketches aren't either super nice or super messy, they're sort of in between. The stuff that I know I want to make sure that I get the details right is usually what ends up being the most detailed in the sketch. In this case, it would be the eyes and the face, whereas the rest is very just loosely mapped out on the paper. And then I go in and I start inking once I've got the sketch where I like it. And then for these, I am using my Prismacolor ink liners. Normally I would use my Copic multi-liners, but I couldn't find them for this video. And again, I start more or less the same way. I start at the head with the face, and then I sort of work my way down. And then here I'm drawing in the hair first, because her hair is covering a lot of her body. So instead of trying to fit that in over, body parts and arms and stuff, I draw that first, and then I just work backwards, I guess. From the front of the canvas, I do the things that are closer first, and then I go in and fill in the things that are behind those things. That's just easier for me to work like that. I'm sure other people do it differently. And then in this instance, I am using the 0.05, I think is what it is. Yes, the 0.05 for all the main line work for this one. And then I go in later with 0.005 to finish in the details on the face. And then add some details to the hair and to the little starfish that she's got holding her hair back. Normally, when I'm using my Copics, I use the 0.03. And I like keeping my lines in between thick and thin, but that's just my personal preference. I think that looks nice with my art style. Because it is so stylized and because it's based very much off of anime. So I think having a bolder line work works better for my style personally. And then normally I would wait for the ink to fully dry, but I got a little impatient and just started erasing my sketch. And so the ink smudged a little bit in a couple places because it hadn't fully dried yet. And then I'm going back and touching it up. Trying to fill in some of the spots that I ended up erasing. And there really isn't much I could do right now regarding the smudged parts. So those are just there. But that's fine. I'm not perfect. No one is. If they are, they're lying. So I'm sorry my head keeps popping in and out of the view of the camera. I'm used to hunching over my workspace. And I was trying really hard not to so you could see what I was working on in this video. So I'm sorry that you keep seeing the top of my head every now and then. And then I decided to torture myself, and I went in and started adding scales to her tail. Normally I don't do this, but I thought it would look nice for the purpose of the video. Normally I just do different color patterns whenever I draw a mermaid. I don't necessarily bother with scales and things like that. But I do give them gills, oddly enough. And I guess just to me it's obvious that they're half fish, half human, so they don't necessarily need the scales. And then for this I'm using the 0.005 again to draw in all the little scales. I obviously did not plan it out very well because they merge funky towards the middle of her tail. And then I sort of spaced them out a bit more as I got closer to her torso. And then just adding some details in the hair, a couple lines just to add some definition and give it a little bit more life. And then for that, normally I would use a 0.005 or a 0.003, a really, really fine-tipped brush for things like adding in hair detail and like what I'm doing, adding some details on her tail fins. So I like adding a variety of line weight, but it's not as obvious as some other people's might be, so again, this is just what I do. There's no one set way of doing anything like this. Do whatever works best for you. And then I'm just going in and adding color. I am using my beak, just markers, just get them at Walmart or Staples. And then I have one of my Copic markers. And then later on I think it's a Staedtler brush pen. I don't know, I'll have to check. I'll have all of these linked in the description. Most of my markers I either just bought at Walmart or I received them secondhand from a friend. But they're all relatively good markers. They work for me. I don't really do much traditional art anymore. And they're old markers, so they're not as good as they could be if they were new or if they had been taken, if they had been taken better care of. So the color did bleed in a couple places, partially because the markers just are old, so their tips are worn down, and so it ended up just going outside the lines, and also just because I don't particularly like this paper that I'm using. And then the purple markers were just the ones closest to the top of my marker collection, so that's what I decided to use. I thought I could make a pretty interesting mermaid using purples. I actually didn't like the super dark purple that I added to the tip of her tail, so I tried blending that with the Copic marker. I don't think it worked quite as well as I wanted to. I thought that the darker purple was more of a true purple than this plum color. But I think I was able to make it work in the end. And normally I'm able to get the markers to blend relatively well. I think it just here, because there's such a big contrast between the dark purple and the lighter purples, it doesn't look as nice as it could. And then I tried doing the same blending in the starfish in her hair, and that just turned into a mess because it was a really tiny area. And then coming in with the Staedtler brush pen to add a flesh tone to her. And this marker is kind of old, so it doesn't work quite as well as I would have liked. Oh, and then I tried adding some blush with a pink alcohol. These are all alcohol ink pens for the most part. So I tried adding some pink to her cheeks as a blush, and that failed. It came out a lot more splotchy than I had intended. But again, I think that's because I was working in a relatively small area, so I didn't have enough room to blend as much as I would have liked. And then I'm just coming in again with the light purple color that I used for her hair and just adding some darker shading to add more dimension to the drawing. And that's basically it. Normally I would have added some sort of highlight to her hair, but I just didn't this time. I figured since I would be going over different areas quite a bit with the markers, adding depth and blending and stuff, I thought it would be best just to color in her hair as a solid color instead of leaving little gaps of white in the paper that would normally indicate a highlight. And that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye!